Hello, I'm Andre J, and today we are going to talk about Wave Pool HD. So, I know it's been a minute since I've been up on posting on YouTube. I've been traveling a lot, and I still do not have any sort of permanent residence or abode. Let me just give you a brief view. I'm in a undisclosed Midwestern basement at the moment, getting things done. Let's see, there's some cool boxes, milk crates, and a large flat screen in the background. See a tiny little security camera back there, so you know I'm in a secure, undisclosed location. But yeah, nice to be back making videos for the YouTube. Apologies for some of you who've missed this scenario. I was hoping to have a better traveling technology setup. My big takeaway from this summer is this was kind of an experiment, seeing what kind of work I can do on the road with what kind of technology, and I realized the stuff I took with me was not very useful for that. But now I think I've got a pretty good idea of how to travel and still be able to make and post videos and stuff like that. So future trips should be a little bit more. It's pretty good keying right there. Future trips should be a little bit more, I should be able to be a little bit more plugged in. But yeah, anyway, let's get back to the business at hand. Wavepool HD. Some of you might know already, I've been selling gravity waves. I'll be making another video that focuses more on the gravity wave sales things to be posting after this one. But as some of you also might know, gravity wave sales not been amazing, probably because I've been off social media. There's global recession, and word of mouth on gravity waves is that it's really weird and complicated and much harder than anybody who just used a wave pool expected. Which I totally get it. Everything of that aspect. It's much more expensive than anything else I've been selling. I definitely upped the price this time around because shit costs money. It takes time to do. It's hard work. And the thing I've learned from like selling stuff is that the first couple times around, I'm always gonna undersell it. So get psyched. This is the first time I'm selling Wavepool HD, so I'm definitely underselling it. Still gonna be a little pricey for many of y'all, but there's always, as always, gonna be DIY options for this biz. Yeah, so what is Wavepool HD? Number one question people have, is this some sort of new image for the VSERPI? No, it's not. VSERPI, as far as I can tell, that chapter is closed. I'm not sure if and when I'll ever start developing for Raspberry Pis again. But for the moment, I'm focusing most of my effort on developing for the same platform that Gravity Waves runs on. That's the NVIDIA Jetson Nano development board. Which leads me to the next thing, is that, yes, it's an HD. This is 1280 by 720. So we've got a lot of pixels to work with here. The price for that, of course, is that there's no built-in analog output here. If you want to go back into an analog system, you're going to have to do what everybody else does and spend a little bit of cash to like transform HDMI to SD. Something I'm probably not going to be doing a lot in the future is making devices that can do multiple resolutions. That's just kind of, a time and expense sort of thing that I'm not really going to be fucking with. But yeah, we've got a lot of pixels to work with here. If we start to like play around with like sharpening, you can really sort of see these details in here. So just slow this down a bit. We can see there is a lot of pixels back there. And the other thing worth mentioning is that this is a very direct port. This isn't like, I haven't added GUIs, I haven't added a lot more complex features. Really, this is just the regular old wave pool that everyone has played with on the Raspberry Pi, but I've made it HD, and I've made it so there's much longer delays too, and we'll go into longer delays in a moment, but let's just play around a little bit with the graphics and see what exactly are we going to be able to do here with a higher resolution? So you can see right off the bat we've got a lot more details happening here. Let me turn on Toroidal Universe. So now we're going to have things kind of wrapping around. So I'm playing around with the sharpen filter, and just so we can get a lot of extra details happening here. Taking temporal filter, inverting it slightly, so we'll get that extra detailed goopy mess here. Let me turn up saturation a bit. Play around with the X and Y positions here. Let's see, bigger X's and Y's will be larger scale reaction diffusion. I make this really, really tiny here. Should get some very highly detailed reaction diffusion. So this is the kind of feedback, if you ever played with like MX70s or Grass Valleys, later era Grass Valleys, Sony DFS systems, anything that has SDI, anything that's doing like oversampling on an analog signal, the feedback's going to look a little bit similar to that. So we've got a lot of details, and this is the kind of stuff which doesn't really look great when you downscale it into SD. I think it looks pretty gnarly when you're working with the HD stuff here. But of course, the nice thing about all of this is that you can sort of be as detailed or as undetailed as you want. So we can have things be nice and blurry too. And that's still, we can still do some pretty smooth and goopy stuff here. We can still do the good old rainbows. And we can have those get pretty crispy as well. Crispy rainbows, goopy rainbows. So we have many, many kinds of rainbows we can work with here. As always, it's my promise to you, a lot of fucking rainbows to get into. Of course, if we want to get out of rainbows, we play around with the hue chaos stuff a bit, and then sort of select a different palette. There, we just want some green and blue, we just want some red and yellow. Purple and red, that's a favorite of mine. Let's see, what else do we got? Other fun stuff we can do with this higher resolution. So let's go back into, let's mess around a little bit with the video reactivity mode. So I hit the video reactivity button. I'm going to key my face out slightly so we see a little bit more of the feedback stuff here. So I hit the video reactivity button and start to do some X displacing. You can see parts of my face and beard are being displaced because there's not a lot of bright things in this basement. And I'm setting temporal filter to be affected by video reactivity. And here's the Y. So we're doing some X and Y with video reactivity, and I'm going to displace now I'm going to turn off video reactive controls and displace things in the opposite direction. So we get that sort of like 3D-ish almost, the isometric 3D kind of like displacement stuff going on. Make that really, really subtle for a second, or we can turn it up a little bit more. Let's see, as I wave my hands around, we're going to sort of get like weird outlines of my background here. All the things on the shelf and the TV and whatnot. So yeah, that's some higher resolution stuff right there. And then we go back, hit the reset button a couple times, and we can start to play around with longer delays. So what do I mean by longer delays? The original wave pool could only have a buffer of 60 seconds at HD, and one of the main reasons I'm working with this new dev board instead of the Raspberry Pis is on this one I can do HD buffers that last about 8 seconds. So that's 4 times the amount of delay you can get here. And with the really, really long delays, there's kind of things you can do that are just like really just like not comparable to the shorter delays. You can have this kind of stuff where you get like looping video everywhere that like just kind of like goes on over and over and over again. Let me do some displacements on the X position. Let's go this way. We'll have things kind of like looping over there. So this is just about maximum. This is 8 seconds, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I'll probably make another video that goes into what do we do with 8 seconds of delay and just focus on that, because that's going to be a long one. But let me just bring this out and speed this up a little bit. So that's the 1 frame of delay. Let me add a couple more frames here. Let me clear the buffer too. So let's key everything out here. There we go. So clear the buffer. And now we're going to get these displaced copies of me. This is probably close to, let's see, there's a new one. This is about 1 second of delay. So we can see what 1 second of delay at HD does. Let me turn on the sharpen filter a bit. So you can see as I slowly turn up this sharpening here, the copies are going to disintegrate a little bit more and more every time. You can see starting about 4 copies on, the edges start to sharpen up. I'm going to boost up the brightness a little bit so we don't disintegrate too much. But yeah, someone on YouTube or someone on Instagram was asking about this very specific effect here. And they were asking what kind of classes I could teach, and I guess I don't really teach any classes about using my devices. Maybe I should. Feels like a little too commercial for me, but definitely open to it. Got to make a living somehow, even if I'm not paying rent. So we get this disintegrating echoes here. And like I said, I don't want this video to be like 3 hours long, so I'm not going to go too hard on the really long delays here. I'll do some of that a little bit later. Let me boost the brightness a little bit more, and then speed up delay. Really weird, jittery. But yeah, so I'm selling this Wave Pool HD thing. Should be pretty sick. Bonus things you're gonna get. So the bonus images. You will not be able to run gravity waves on this hardware, but you'll be about halfway to doing a DIY one if you follow the DIY steps on my page. But you will have HD versions. I'm going to guarantee HD versions of Artificial Life and Temporal Vortex. I'm going to try to get an HD version of Spectral Mesh going, but I'm not going to promise that one. It's because there's a little bit of other like stuff to do here. Wow, I really look straight up bald here. I'm not completely bald yet, but this lighting is, I gotta get a ring light or something for like portable lighting things. It's making me look, I kind of look a little bit like a, like an Amish David Cross right now. I guess for better or for worse, I don't know. I guess David Cross kind of looks a bit like an Amish David Cross these days, I think. I'm not really up on what a lot of celebrities look like. But yeah, you're going to get the bonus images. So this will just be like a master boot option, same way it works on a Wave, on the VSERPI, where you just plug in a keyboard and like navigate to a different folder and run scripts to like do Artificial Life HD and Temporal Vortex HD and maybe Spectral Mesh HD. And I do think that Spectral Mesh will look remarkably cool in an HD format. But yeah, the sales for this since I did start the sales run a little bit later for Wavepool HD, depending on what people tell me, I might extend the sales for that like into January slightly, but this would be only if people contact me and say, hey, could you give me another extra 2 weeks to save up for this? Otherwise, if I don't hear anything from anyone, I'm going to close up the sales for everything on January 1st, 2024. So that's what's going on with the sales. So what do you get when you buy a Wavepool HD? So you're going to get, it's pretty much going to be the same kind of deal as the capture bundles for the VSERPI. So that was, you get so for the capture bundles for a VSERPI, you would get a Raspberry Pi, analog breakouts, MIDI controller, and then power supply, and then the different capture things. So an analog and a digital capture thing. So for this one, you're not getting an analog breakout. That doesn't exist. You're going to have to source your own ways to go into analog, but for real, this is HD. Let's do some HD stuff with this. The nice thing about this, which you will be able to do, is you can run analog into this and use this. So say I've got a full analog chain. I've got an MX50 doing some camera feedback, doing some stuff with recur. So if I'm doing all analog stuff, at the end of my chain, I can run that into the Wavepool HD and then have that go out HDMI into projector or whatever. So you can use this sort of as your upscaler at the end of the chain, which I'm going to say 90% of the time when I'm doing like analog stuff in a live setting, I do want to have an upscaler at the end of the chain anyway, so it's nice to have that built into a device that you want to use anyway and not just have an extra piece of gear. So that seems like a pretty cool bonus. So you're going to get MIDI controller, the Jetson Nano, that's the main processing unit, that's what's replacing a Raspberry Pi here. You're going to get analog and digital capture inputs, power supply, and that's pretty much it. So it's going to be a little bit less complicated to use in the Gravity Wave, which I think a lot of people will appreciate. It's going to be probably significantly cheaper than Gravity Waves for many people. Still, actually probably fairly comparable to how the last session of capture bundles were selling. In terms of, everything's just more expensive now. It's kind of fucked. That's one reason I'm trying to reduce my expenses and everything. But yeah, made a lot of posts and videos about that already. Don't need to talk about that anymore. And what else? Yeah, there's going to be DIY options for this. I don't quite have the instructions up, but it's going to be very, very similar to how the Gravity Waves DIY stuff, but you just have significantly less things to try to jury rig on your own in terms of, like, there's not going to be the keypad thing, not going to have to source any kind of, like, trackpads or any of that business. Not going to have to flash a keypad with QMK, although future, I'm thinking about doing more sort of QMK controller-based things, like maybe some kind of custom QMK controller with like potentiometers and stuff on it built onto it. That could be pretty cool. But yeah, I wanted to keep this video kind of short and sweet. This is Wavepool HD. It's going to be on sale now, which is November. It's Black Friday, big shopping day. Will not be on sale, reduced price for Cyber Monday. Normal be the exact same price the whole time along, and will probably be more expensive the next time I sell it next winter, as seems to be the case with all these things, unless there's some sort of really crazy, remarkable thing that happens with like semiconductors that reduces the price of all of them. Yeah, seems pretty unlikely. Probably prices for everything will continue to go up. If I have to spend more on potatoes, then everything else is going to go up. But yeah, I think that is all the main details I wanted to cover. I'll be making a couple more videos going into longer delays on this. I'll be making a couple more videos showing off some cool stuff with gravity waves that I've learned. and hopefully we'll be getting back to doing a couple more of the video gear instructional videos with like MX1s and stuff like that starting this spring, so stay tuned. But in the meanwhile, just enjoy my head bobbing. I'm going to fade out here. You can go follow the link that'll be in this video description, and you'll be able to pre-order your Wavepool HD. Oh yeah, same way as the Gravity Waves works. These are not going to be shipping until between April and May 2024. Everything you buy now will be shipping in April and May 2024. There is no express option. Repeatedly emailing me about when is this going to ship, give me an exact date is not really going to be appreciated. Let's just take this as a given. You know, just think about it for a second. It could be much worse. It could ship in several years. So be thankful that things work like this. The reason I do this, of course, is that if I have to like have more things in stock and have a studio and do that whole thing, everything has to cost more. So everything can be a little bit cheaper if I'm able to do all of the buying in one fell swoop, and I can combine the buying of this with the Gravity Waves, so it makes everything a lot more convenient for me on my end. That's why we're doing things this way, and for the immediate next couple years, everything will work this way. Yeah. So let me know. Shoot me emails if you have questions about this. If you want a little extension on the purchasing time, if I get 5 people to say extensions, I'll probably do an extension. Let me know that kind of soonish. Don't let me know the night of like December 31st that you want an extension. Let me know maybe in the next 2 to 3 weeks if you think like having the extension go into mid-January would be good. Yeah, and then I'll make a couple more videos on this stuff, and you'll be able to see a lot of crazy video things happening. Alright, cool. Let me fade out here. And, as always, have fun.